Welcome to Aberration, and to not waste any more time, let's just get into what you need to know about Aberration as a map. First off is this map is split into 3 different zones, green, blue, and red, or hard, harder, and hardest. Okay, well there's also the surface, but we'll just say that that's special, and talk about that later. One of the first things you may notice if you're transferring to Aberration from another map is that you aren't able to throw out some of your dinos. Well, Aberration is picky on what dinos are allowed on this map and what dinos are not. The general rule of thumb is if it's bigger than a Spino, or if it can fly, it's not going to be allowed. But bringing dinos that are not allowed over to Aberration will not hurt them at all. It's just that you will not be able to throw them out while you are here. For a list of dinos that you cannot bring, I will link in the description. It's a Reddit post that's a few years old, but it will give you a general idea of what you cannot bring. And on a side note, yes, my Doed's name is Elvis because he is the king of rock and roll. Around all the different biomes, you're going to find charge stations. These charge stations provide light. In addition to just being light, you can also use these charge stations to charge batteries. It does use up the current charge station's charge, which replenishes over time. And these charge stations can also be used to make element. And this is the main source of how you're going to get element on this map. When crafting element, it will use up all of these resources to make 3 element. Note that when crafting element, it requires batteries, and those batteries need to be fully charged, but they can be the mini batteries introduced with extinction. After crafting, it will drain all the charge out of the batteries, but not consume the battery itself. So you are free to keep those for the next time. And after crafting element, or fully charging all the batteries, and draining all of the power node's power, it will shut down, at which point it will no longer provide light or charge batteries until it is fully recharged. What I like to do is I like to leave the batteries in the charge station after making the element. That way, once it comes back online, it will charge the batteries immediately. I will be good to go for more element. The last thing to mention about the charge station is it does now work as a transmitter, so you can use it to transfer off of this map. Occasionally, Aberration will have earthquakes. These earthquakes will bounce you around a bit and give you some resources. Basic resources will come out of the ground and you can pick them up. That's about that. Something you'll hear me mention a lot is hazard gear. This is the gear that I always wear whenever I'm playing on this map. So I'd recommend you build it as soon as you're able to. One of the ingredients it takes to make is congealed gas balls. To get these congealed gas balls, you'll have to find a gas vent and then put a gas collector on that vent. And then over time, it will collect those congealed gas balls, similar to an oil vein with an oil collector. You'll also notice that something it takes to make this gas collector is red gems. But don't worry, I'll talk more about how you can get red gems later. Something unique to Aberration is green, blue, and red gems. Green gems can be found in the green zone from these crystal-like looking things and be harvested with a pick. This is also a great source of crystal in the early game. Blue gems can be found in the blue zone, and red gems can be found in the red zone. In the wild, you'll find these glowing pink plants. These are plant species Z plants, and standing next to them will both heal you and any mounts nearby it. As well as waiting by it for enough time, it will spit out the plant species Z seed. These seeds are used to tame all of the light pets, and you can even plant them at your base. Both wild and planted plant species Z give off light. Now this is not just normal light, this is charge light. Charge light is very, very important on Aberration, and I will talk more about it later. These plant species Z that you grow yourself will not heal your tames anymore and will not produce any of those plant species Z seeds. But they do give off light around your base, and they will grow these plant species Z fruits. These fruits are basically just flashbang grenades that aren't super useful in PvE, but they do give a quick burst of charge light and are needed for taming a Ling. A lot of the creatures you're going to find on Aberration are Aberrant variants. For the most part, these are just visual effects, though there is one very important difference that Aberrant creatures have over regular creatures, but only really has to do with this map, and I will talk about it later. I will now talk about the green zone in a little bit more detail, followed by the blue zone, followed by the red zone. The general order for this is going to be that the green zone is for the starting area, the blue zone is the mid game, red zone is the late game. I will have chapters below, so you can skip to whatever zone you need, and I will start off each zone with a few tames that I recommend for that zone. And once again, starting off in the green zone, dire bears. I love dire bears on Aberration. They have a charge up, so they can get going pretty fast. They're pretty powerful fighters. They can even gather fiber and some berries. Overall, just an outstanding tame. The Iguanodon is a great early game berry gatherer, as well as being a somewhat decent battle mount. I wouldn't really use them as a battle mount, but you can use them to defend yourself against a couple Ravagers here or there. Also, when running on 4 legs, is pretty fast, as well as actually regain stamina while sprinting instead of losing it, so they can sprint forever, which means that you can run away should things need you to. The Ravager is going to be one of the best early game battle mounts. Think Raptor, but better. And one of the things that makes them better is that all across Aberration you'll be able to find these rope vines. Ravagers are able to climb across these rope lines, as well as being able to climb zip lines, which you can place. But at the end of the day, these guys make pretty decent battle mounts, and that is the main reason why I recommend them. The Cosmo is an Aberration exclusive shoulder pet. The Cosmo is very easy to tame and is amazing for traversing this map because you can just swing around things. Also, you're supposed to take no fall damage when you land, though sometimes I have still died. Just be careful. When starting off on this map, you'll be greeted with this spawn map. I would recommend starting somewhere around the Fertile Lake. The portal, even though it says easy, it's not really easy. Fertile Lake 3 is normally my go-to spawn, and I was able to spawn without dying. That's already a good sign. Located at about 2761 is the green zone's entrance to the surface. Now you probably won't want to go up to the surface yet, but in the surface entrance is a good source of keratin and metal. This will be the best spot you can farm those in the early game, with these small black rocks being metal and these dinosaur bones being keratin, both of which can be easily farmed using an Enki. And because beavers don't spawn on this map, having a good place to farm this keratin to make your own paste, either with a mortar and pestle or preferably chemistry bench, is a good thing to know. Throughout the green zone, you're going to find these red mushrooms. And you got to be careful of these because inside these patches of red mushrooms, you're going to find these red, more Domey mushrooms. These red Domey mushrooms will spit out poison that tries to kill you. But don't worry because the rest of the red mushrooms are fine. If you see a red Domey mushroom, beware. And I would avoid running through these red patches at all because sometimes you'll step on a Domey mushroom and not even know it was there. Aggravatic mushrooms can be used to shorten the time that you're poisoned or remove it completely if you eat enough of them. And if you eat them before taking the effect, it will provide you immunity for a short period of time. You can also wear a full suit of hazard, and that will stop you from getting hurt by that cloud at all. Killing wild Karkinos found at the rivers and harvesting them, especially with something like a chainsaw, is a great source of chitin and organic polymer. In fact, the organic polymer piece is very important because obsidian and cementing paste is very hard to get on Aberration. Moving into the blue zone, or the mid-game, the Spino. This is just an absolute beast on Aberration. It is the biggest carnivore other than the Reaper, and is able to handle pretty much anything on this map. The Ling, this is going to be your best travel mount for a while, until you get the Rock Drake. Then the Rock Drake's better in every way. But the Ling is good until then. The Roll Rat's a pretty cool guy. He's great at wood gathering, and pretty good at berry gathering too. And if left on wander, will automatically collect berries. As well as being able to hold 3 people in its saddle is really fun at getting around. He takes the roll part of his name quite seriously. The Karkinos, aka the giant crab, though not being the greatest fighter of all time, can definitely hold itself. In bolstering 2 giant crab claws, you can use them to pick up dinos and whack them into the ground to secure an easy kill, or pick them up and shoot them with trank darts to make taming a piece of cake, or use it for the thing that pretty much everyone uses it for and puts Ankies in its claws and goes around the blue zone harvesting metal, because in the blue zone, pretty much every single rock you see is a metal rock. Yeah, this is the best place in the entire game for farming metal, and the Karkinos makes it just so easy. And with a jump, traversing back to your base is a piece of cake. And for the perfect transition to start talking about what's new in the blue zone, let's talk about light pets, or in this case, a Bulbdog. Any light pet works, it's just the Bulbdog is the easiest one to tame. One thing that's important to know is that if you use the clap emote while it's on your shoulder, you can toggle whether or not he is turned on or not. And these light pets provide light, charge light. Remember I mentioned this earlier? Yeah, in the blue zone is where having light actually starts to be important. Check out these nasty monkey things. They're called Nameless that I'm fighting. Well, I don't have charge light on. And this is what happens when you aren't in light. These Nameless will spawn. But as soon as I turn on my light, they will burrow away and it will stop more of them from spawning. That is why charge light is so important. And if you plan on building in the blue zone, make sure you have those plant species Z around your base. And make sure that Nameless don't spawn at your base. The Megalo-Saurus. This comes more of a wild warning rather than a suggestion for a tame. Though it makes for a great tame, it's great at killing you when it's wild. It will pick you up in its mouth and just shred you. This is with 300 health and a primitive set of flak, and the Megalo-Saurus was only level 10. Remember those red mushrooms from the green zone? Well, good news is that they're not in the blue zone. And if your mind immediately goes to, oh no, that means that there's something worse in the blue zone. Well, you'd be absolutely right. In the blue zone, there are these blue mushrooms. Specifically the blue mushrooms with the dark blue ring at the bottom. And these ones want to kill you. Really want to kill you. The effect lasts much longer. Good news is that these are curable, this time with aquatic mushrooms. Normally, wherever these dark blue mushrooms are that you get this effect from, you can find some aquatic mushrooms nearby. Otherwise, they act the same way as the red mushrooms did in the green zone, just last much longer and do more damage. If you head to about 5542 on the map, you can find these strange looking plants. These plants, you can harvest them extremely well with a dire bear or with a sickle for organic polymer. These plants can be found other places and are pretty common in the red zone, but this place here can be found in the blue zone without actually crossing into the red zone. Just be careful because the red zone has radiation, which I'll talk more about later, but if you go too far, you will start taking that radiation damage. And moving into the red zone, or the late game, take your Ling and throw it away because the rock drake has arrived. This thing is the best travel mount in Aberration. They can glide around, they can zoom to cliffs, they can fight things, they can even turn invisible. You don't see a Ling doing any of that. Yes, the Reaper. Of course I gotta talk about this thing. This is the king of Aberration. Literally because it's called the Reaper King is the one that you get to tame. But you tame it from the Reaper Queen. Anyways, the king of Aberration. This thing is a beast. It just is. Not much more to say. However, I will take this time to mention Seekers. Seekers are these annoying little flyers that keep coming after me. They are Seekers because they seek light. So having your charge light on will make them come to you. So if I turn it off, you can see that this one de-aggroes pretty quick. But as this one de-aggroes, guess what does get aggroed? Nameless. So pick your poison. Also, without a light, the Reaper becomes much tankier. Just look at this. His health barely goes down, but Nameless are following you. So yeah, pick your poison. The first thing you'll notice in the red zone is radiation. This radiation, should you not properly prepare, will lead to your death. But this radiation affects both you and your tames. So you're going to have to take steps to protect both. Let's start off with you. The best way to protect yourself is with a full set of hazard gear. A full set of hazard gear will stop you from taking radiation damage. This hazard gear will drain durability as you are in the red zone though. Be cautious of this. Don't have a piece break and then not have a backup. You can also use a lamprey. And this is like a leech thing that you can get stuck on you. And while it's stuck on you, you will be immune to radiation. This could be a good way of going into the red zone for the very first time, because in order to make the hazard suit, you need gas balls, and gas balls need those red gems, but those red gems are found in the red zone. So you could get a lamprey, go in there, get some red gems, and then get out. You could also just sit in the blue zone and wait for roll rats to pop out of the ground or earthquakes to bring red gems while you're in the blue zone. And that's how you can prepare yourself for the radiation zone. Moving on to your tames. Remember how I said that there is a big difference between normal creatures and aberrant variant creatures? Well, aberrant variant creatures, most of them are immune to radiation, so they can be brought into the red zone safely. On the screen, I will put a full list of all the dinos that are immune to radiation. In addition, what you can do is you can feed a tame mushroom brew, and this will temporarily make it immune to radiation. Note that radiation does not kill you instantly. So if you take some radiation, or if your tame takes some radiation, it's not the end of the world. In case you decide to try and go in the red zone without a full set of hazard or tech, you should know that the red zone also has those poisonous mushrooms that want to kill you. This time they're these coral looking things. And here you can see it right here as I'm approaching, and it emits that poison cloud again. This may look like water that you want to go swimming in, but I assure you it's not. This is the element water in the red zone. Going in it will drain the durability of your hazmat suit very fast, as well as damaging any tames, including on your shoulder. And if any of your hazmat breaks, well, it will kill you very fast. There is actually a third way to survive in the radiation zone, and that's with a full suit of tech. Full suit of tech will keep the radiation out, but will still slowly drain the durability of the armor. And if you get in the element waters with a full suit of tech, it will actually charge the suit of element, but it will drain the durability pretty fast. In the red zone, you're going to find the rock drake trench. This is how you get rock drakes. Well, this is how you get rock drake eggs, which then you raise into your own rock drakes. Kind of like how you get wyverns. But if you keep heading back, eventually you get to a spot that looks like this, which then you can find this cave, with the start of the cave being at 66, 61.5, and right here on the map. And this cave is the best source of element ore on this map. Once you get actually inside of the cave, no enemies spawn back there, so you're safe to harvest all of this element ore. You just have to get here and then get out. The last thing I'm going to mention in the red zone is going to be the Rockwell fight. Even though this fight can be started from any zone using supply drops, I'm going to mention it here. This fight is the boss fight of Aberration and can give you an extra 15 levels as well as unlock tech beds. And new with Arc Survival Ascended, it will give you element. Though to keep this element, I have heard that you need to place it on one of your tames before you actually ascend, otherwise it will get removed from your inventory. There is one last zone to talk about, and that's the surface. Surface entrances can be found in the green, blue, and red zones, and, well, take you to the surface. But for now, we're going to stick with the same entrance that I mentioned earlier on in this video, and we can head on up. You can use a rock drake to scale the cliff it takes to get to the surface. And once you're up here, it's a little bit warm, a little hot, getting a nice suntan, maybe sunburn. Oh. So this feels like the perfect time to mention that you actually need to go to the surface when it's nighttime. Otherwise, during the day, it's on fire. But once it's nighttime, you can freely explore the surface. I would recommend bringing a light pet because nameless do spawn up here. You know what else spawns up here? Is reapers. Though you can't really prevent those things from spawning. And just watch the first 10 seconds of me being up here. Now let's count. That's 1, 2, 3 already. Just so you get an idea of what you're dealing with up here. So now let's talk about what the surface has to offer you. First off, it's worth mentioning that this is a great place to get element ore, though I still find the cave to be better because you don't have to deal with all these reapers. Next is there's charge stations, but these aren't just normal charge stations, they're hyper charge stations. They charge batteries twice as fast. Is that really worth coming up here for? Well, that's up to you. And the third thing, arguably the most important thing, is the supply drops. These are how you can get some of the best blueprints and gear on Aberration. Though they are up here, so be careful. I like to just drop down on the rock drake, quickly get off, grab all the stuff from the supply drop, and get out. The very last thing that I'll mention is that there is a day and night cycle on Aberration of 10% day, 90% night, 50-50, or 90-10 the other way. And you can hold H and look at the top left of your screen to see, as well as see what time of day it is. Both the amount of how much day and how much night plus what time it is determines whether or not the surface is going to be on fire or not. I will put those times up on screen now. Just know that these times are for the northern surface zones and not the southern one with the red obelisk. The red obelisk actually gets more time before daytime starts, about 20 minutes to 2 hours depending on the day and night cycle. And with that, this video will come to an end. Boy, has it been a ride. Thank you all for watching, and good luck.